Okay, welcome to another practice questions video. This one's on subtraction. It'll work the same way as the addition one, where we worked on problems of basically increasing difficulty. So you're welcome to skip around, see what's relevant for you. There'll be a bunch of different types of problems. So first we can have things like just basic 1 digit and then 2 digit, moving up and into more and more digits. And then ultimately where we're going is doing application problems, word problems, everyday kind of problems. Okay, so starting off, subtract and then check by adding 9 minus 4. So we'll start off, we'll just write it down. You can write this as columns or you can write this just horizontally. It doesn't matter for 1 digits. And so we just want 4 less than 9. So you can count that whichever way you want to, but it'll equal 5. The way that we check by adding is basically we turn this equals into a plus and we turn this minus into an equals. And so we should get 4 plus 5. And we know that that will equal 9. And so that's how we would check by adding. So same thing here. Now we've got 9 minus 3. So 3 less than 9 is going to be 6. And then 6 plus 3 is going to equal 9. If you have any trouble keeping up with this video, and you should be doing these problems before I attempt them, if you have any trouble though, go back to the subtraction lecture and you'll be able to get a really in-depth explanation as to how we're actually doing all this. Same thing here. So here we've got 8 minus 0. So anything minus 0 is just going to be that same thing. So we would just get our number back, our original number. And so if you wanted to check this, you could go 8 plus 0, which is just going to give us the same thing back. Same thing here, we've got 2 minus 0. Like I said, anything minus 0 is just going to give itself back. And so we'll end up with 2. And so now to check by adding, we do the opposite. And so we do 2 plus 0, which does equal 2. And so we know we're correct. So now 38 minus 16. So this is where we'll start needing columns. So we'll line them up, making sure our place values line up. And then we put a little line underneath. And now we just work from right to left, subtracting. And if we need to borrow, we can. So 8 minus 6 is 2. And 3 minus 1 is 2. Therefore, our answer is 22. If we were to do this again, we would basically just turn this line into a plus, and we would turn this into an equals. And so we should go 22 plus 16. And so checking that that does equal 38, we would go 2 plus 6, which is 8, 2 plus 1, which is 3. And so we do get 38, and so that is correct. 45 minus 21, line them up in our columns. 5 minus 1 is 4, 4 minus 2 is 2, so we get 24. That means that 24 plus 21 should equal 45. And so 4 plus 1 is 5, 2 plus 2 is 4, and so we know we're correct. 85 minus 52. So same process. So now we go 5 minus 2, which is 3, 8 minus 5, which is also 3. So now we should do 33 plus 52, and we should get 85 back. And so 3 plus 2 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8. And so we do get 85 back, so therefore we know we're correct. 99 minus 47. So we'll set that up. Then we go 9 minus 7. Should put a line there. 9 minus 7 is 2. 9 minus 4 is 5. And so we know 52 plus 47 should equal 99. So what do we have? 52 plus 47. And so we get 2 plus 7, which is 9. And then 5 plus 4, which is 9 also. And so we know we're correct there. So now moving on to 3 digits. So we have 493 minus 370. And so 3 minus 0 is 3, 9 minus 7 is 2, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So we get 123. Then to check by adding, we would go 123 plus 370. And so 3 plus 0 is 3, 2 plus 7 is 9, 1 plus 3 is 4. And so we get our original number back, which means that we correctly subtracted. So 268 minus 106 And so 8 minus 6 is 2, 6 minus 0 is 6, 2 minus 1 is 1. And so now to check by adding, we add 162 and 106. 2 plus 6 is 8, 6 plus 0 is 6, and 1 plus 1 is 2, and so we do get the same number back. Moving on to 4-digit numbers. So 5,946 minus 4,625. So 6 minus 5 is 1, 4 minus 2 is 2, 9 minus 6 is 3, and 5 minus 4 is 1. So we get 1,321. Now when we add 1,321 and 4,625, we should get 5,946 back. So 1 plus 5 is 6, 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 6 is 9, comma, and then 1 plus 4 is 5. And so we do get that back. So we know we're correct. 7,775 minus 3,251. And so same process, 5 minus 1 is 4, 7 minus 5 is 2, 7 minus 2 is 5, 7 minus 3 is 4. And so we get 4,524. If we were to add that together again with the 3,251, we should get that back. So 4 plus 1 is 5, 2 plus 5 is 7, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 4 plus 3 is also 7. So we do get that correctly. All right, moving on to some examples where we have to borrow. So these might be a little bit more challenging, but once you get the hang of it, it's the same process again. And so 5 minus 7, well, we can't do that. So we have to borrow 1 from the tens place, which means we have a 6 there now. Now because we borrowed 1, which is representative of 10, we have a 10 and a 5, which makes 15. And so now we go 15 minus 7, which is 8. And then we have 6 minus 4, which is 2. And so ultimately we get 28. So now to check that by adding, we would go 28 plus 47. And so 8 plus 7 is 15. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7. And so we get 75 back. So we know that we're correct. So just to reiterate, if you can't subtract because the top digit is smaller than the bottom digit, then you'll need to borrow from the next place. So 63 minus 59. And so we get 3 minus 9. Well, we can't do that. We borrow. That becomes a 5. And now we have 13. So 13 minus 9 is 4. 5 minus 5 is 0. And ultimately, we just get 4. So now we should go 59 plus 4. And that should equal 63. And so we get 9 plus 4. Well, that's 13. So we put the 3 there, carry the 1 over. Now 1 plus 5 is 6. And we get 63 back. Moving on to borrowing with 3 digits. And so 461 minus 239. Same process again. So 1 minus 9, can't do it. Borrow, that becomes a 5, that becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. And so we end up with 222. Now if we add that back to the 239, we should get 461. So 2 plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6. 2 plus 2 is 4, and we get 461 back, so we know that we're correct. So same thing again, 486 minus 257. And so we get 6 minus 7, well, we can't do that, so we borrow. That becomes 7, and that becomes 16. And so 16 minus 7 is going to be 9. 7 minus 5 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. Now when we add that back together with the 257, 9 plus 7 is 16. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 8. 2 plus 2 is 4, and we get 486 back. Subtract and then check by adding again. So 525 minus 179. So 5 minus 9, can't do that, need to borrow. So then we would make that a 1 and we'd get 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. 1 minus 7. Well, this is an example where we can't actually do that either, so we have to borrow again from the next place. So that becomes a 4. Now, importantly, that becomes an 11. So we've now got a 1, which we had after borrowing, and now we've added a tens place, or a hundreds place really, but we've added that 1 digit, and so now it becomes 11 minus 7. And so we would end up with 4, and so then 4 minus 1 is 3. So now if we add back 346 and 179, 6 plus 9 is 15, 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 7 is 12, 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and we get 525 back. All right, 542 minus 288. So 2 minus 8, can't do it. Make that a 3, make that a 12. So 12 minus 8 is 4. 3 minus 8, also can't do that. We have to borrow again. So then 13 minus 8 is 5, and then 4 minus 2 is 2. So then if we want to add again, we would go 254 plus 288. 4 plus 8 is 12. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 8 is 14. Then 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 2 is 5, and we get 542 back. So same thing again, but now we've got the thousands place, so we've got 4 digits, and so 6,318 minus 2,799. So 8 minus 9, can't do that. So now we borrow, which means now we've reduced that to a 0. This becomes 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. Now 0, unless it's minus 0, it's always going to need to borrow. So we'll borrow there. And that becomes 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. Now we've got 2 minus 7. Can't do that. Need to borrow again. So now we've got 12 minus 7, which is 5. And then we've got 5 minus 2, which is 3. And so we end up with 3,519. So if we add that back to the 2,799, we would then get 9 plus 9, which is 18. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 7 is 13. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and we get 6,318, which is what we started with. So we know we're correct there as well. So same thing again. Now we've got 8,153 minus 3,978. And so we would go 3 minus 8, can't do that, becomes a 4. 13 minus 8 is 5. 4 minus 7, can't do that, have to take from there. So then we get 14 minus 7, which is 7. 0 minus 9, can't do that, have to borrow from there. That becomes a 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. Then we get 7 minus 3, which is 4. And so we end up with 4,175. Now to add that back, we would add it to 3,978. And so 5 plus 8 is 13. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 7 is 15. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 4 plus 3 is going to be 8. And we end up with 8,153, which is what we started with, so we know we're correct. So if this is going too fast, don't forget to check out that original subtraction lecture. It's important you grasp the fundamentals before you come here, unless this is good practice for you and you are actually learning from it. I know I'm moving quick, but it's about you practicing and then checking your answers and seeing what you did differently to me or what you did the same. All right, so now we're doing a problem where we have two different numbers that have different places. So one's only got up to the hundreds place, one has a thousands place. And so we just got to make sure that we line up those numbers correctly. And so make sure the hundreds and the tens and the ones place all line up with both numbers. And so once you've done that, then we just go through the normal process. So we go 0 minus 4, can't do that. That becomes a 4 and that becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 4 minus 6, can't do that. Then we get 14 minus 6, which is 8. 0 minus 9, so we can't do that either. So that becomes a 1, and that becomes a 10. 10 minus 9 is 1, and then 1 just gets brought down there because there's nothing else there. And so we end up with 1,186. And so to check that by adding, we would just add that back to the 964, remembering to line up those places correctly. And so 6 plus 4 is 10. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 6 is 15. 1 plus 1 plus 9 is 11. Carry the 1 over, and then that becomes a 2. And so we end up with 2,150, which is correct. Similar problem again. So just ensure we're lining up the places correctly. So then once we're ready to go, we go 5 minus 9, need to borrow. 15 minus 9, which is 6. 3 minus 9, need to borrow again. 13 minus 9 is 4. 1 minus 8, need to borrow. And then we get 11 minus 8, which is 3. And then that 3 gets brought down because it's really just subtracting 0, which is obviously just going to be itself. So now to add that again, we would go 3,346 plus 899. 6 plus 9, 15. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 9 is 14. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 8 is 12. Carry that 1 over, and then we end up with 4. So 4,245. Then we just cross-check and make sure that is the other number that we started with, and it is. So we are correct. All right, so 43,650 minus 8,982. And so 0 minus 2, can't do that, we need to borrow there. 10 minus 2 is 8. 4 minus 8, well, we can't do that. Then 14 minus 8 is going to be 6. 5 minus 9, can't do that. So 15 minus 9 is going to be 6 as well. And then 2 minus 8, we also can't do that. So then 12 minus 8 becomes a 4 there, and then we bring that 3 down, and we end up with 34,668. And so 34,668 plus 8,982. And so 8 plus 2 is 10. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 8 is 15. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 9 is 16. And then 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 8 is 13. And then 1 plus 3 is 4. And so we get 43,650 back, which is the other number. So 35,162 minus 7,885. And so same process again, working from right to left, borrowing where needed. And so I know I need to borrow straight away. I can't do 2 minus 5, so that becomes 12 minus 5, which is 7. 5 minus 8, I also need to borrow, which becomes 15 minus 8, which is also 7. 0 minus 8, can't do that again. So then that becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. Now 4 minus 7, need to borrow again. And so 14 minus 7 is 7. And then we bring down that 2. And so we end up with 27,277. So now adding that back to 7,885, we would then do 7 plus 5 is 12. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 8 is 16. 3 plus 8 is 11. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 7 is 15. And then 3. So 35,162. So just cross-checking that, we do have that at the start, and so that is correct. Okay, so moving on to some different problems now. Now we're going to be looking at translating and simplifying. So just to reiterate, translate means to put it from a worded phrase or worded question into some kind of numerical expression. And so the simplify part means to do all the math we possibly can. And so the difference of 10 and 3, so when we speak about difference, what we're talking about is subtraction. And so all we would write is 10 minus 3. You're welcome to write this horizontally because we're only subtracting one digit. If you prefer to line this up then you're welcome to as well. And so maybe I'll just do it like that just to show. I'll do two ways. I know that 3 less than 10 is going to be 7. I also could do it this way. However, you'll see why it's pointless in a second. So 0 minus 3, well, I can't do that, so I have to borrow. That becomes 0, that becomes 10. And now I'm left just basically doing the same thing. And so in that case, it's just about knowing what's 3 less than 7. So you're welcome to count down, or if you're knowledgeable enough, then you should just have those kind of things memorized. If not, I'm sure you will in the future. So the translate part of this one, the difference of 12 and 8. So we have 12 minus 8. And so that would be the translate part. Now doing the actual equal sign and then simplifying it, we would end up with 4. So if you want to check, you could say 4 plus 8, which is going to be 12. Translate and simplify the difference of 15 and 4. And so this one we can do this way. And so 5 minus 4 is 1, and then bring the 1 down and we get 11. So the difference of 18 and 7, so just write 18, 7. 8 minus 7 is 1, bring the 1 down and we also get 11. Translate and simplify, subtract 6 from 9. Key word here really is A, we're subtracting something, but 6 from 9. So 9 is the number on top or coming first, and 6 is the second number. And so I know that 6 less than 9 is going to be 3. Subtract 8 from 9, and so 9 minus 8. Really, really important you get the correct word phrasing there. And so 9 minus 8 is going to be 1. Subtract 28 from 75. And so from again, so 75 on top, 28 there. We will, because it's 2 digits now, we will actually use our columns. And so 5 minus 8, well, we can't do that. So then 6 there, 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. 6 minus 2 is 4. If you want to check that, you can by adding 47 and 28. However, I won't be doing that. We did enough practice earlier in this video. Subtract 59 from 81. So 81 minus 59. 1 minus 9, can't do that, borrow. 11 minus 9 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2, and we get 22. Now, a bit of a different phrase here, decreased by. And so if we're decreasing something, we're subtracting something from it. So 45 decreased by 20 indicates that we're doing 45 minus 20. And so 5 minus 0 is 5, 4 minus 2 is 2, and so we can see that 45 decreased by 20 is equal to 25. 37 decreased by 24, and so that's 37 minus 24. 7 minus 4 is 3, 3 minus 2 is 1, and there we can see that there's a 13 difference between 37 and 24. 92 decreased by 67, so we get 92 minus 67. 2 minus 7, we need to borrow there, and so 12 minus 7 is 5, 8 minus 6 is 2, and so we can see that 92 decreased by 67 is equal to 25. 75 decreased by 49, and so we have 75 minus 49. So 5 minus 9, we need to borrow there. We get 15 minus 9, which is 6. 6 minus 4, which is 2. And we can see there that that equals 26. 12 less than 16. And so this one's a little bit different phrasing as well. So this is kind of like the from, where the second number is going to be your top number. So we would have 16 minus 12. To find 12 less than something, we would need to subtract 12 from it. And so 16 minus 12, that's going to be 4. And so 6 minus 2 is 4, 1 minus 1 is 0, and we end up with just 4. Same thing here, 15 less than 19, 19 minus 15. So 9 minus 5 is 4, 1 minus 1 is 0, and so we end up with just 4. 38 less than 61, which is 61 minus 38. So we need to borrow straight off the bat. 11 minus 8, which is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. And so we get 23. So moving on to some different questions. Now we're actually just looking at some different phrasing. So 76 minus 47. This is the exact same problem. We just got different wording. So simplify means do all the math possible. It just means solve. So 76 minus 47. And so we do the exact same thing. So I'll need to borrow. 16 minus 7 is 9. 6 minus 4 is 2. I won't check these by adding. You're welcome to as well. Maybe that's a good practice step for you. Same thing here. 91 minus 53. I need to borrow. 11 minus 3 is 8. And then 8 minus 5 is 3. 258 minus 184. And so 8 minus 4 is 4. 5 minus 8, this is where we'll need to borrow. 15 minus 8 is 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. And we end up with 74. Same thing again. 305 and 262. And so 5 minus 2 is 3. 0 minus 6, I'll need to borrow there. And so we get 10 minus 6, which is 4. 2 minus 2 is 0. And so we end up with 43. So 2015 minus 1993. So same process again. So 5 minus 3 is 2. Now 1 minus 9, I can't do that. But if I look to the left, it's a 0, so I can't actually borrow from it. So what I need to do, and this is really kind of tricky to remember, is I need to look to the place left of that, and then I need to borrow in order. And so what I'll do is I'll make this 2 into a 1. That will then make this 0 into a 10, remembering that we're borrowing to the next place. And so now if we're borrowing from 10, that will become 9. And so that will still become 11. And so that really needs to make sense. Just to reiterate, if we can't borrow from immediately to the left, we need to borrow from the next one over. That will make the next one over a different number. So instead of just going over from 2 to the 1, we have to go 2, borrow 1, which becomes 10 in the next place, or 100 really. And so then we would have to borrow from that, which would make that 9, and then that would be 11. And so now here, 11 minus 9 would be 2. And now you'll notice 9 minus 9 is 0. And then 1 minus 1 is also 0. So there is a 22 difference between 1993 and 2015. So 2020 minus 1984. And so here, 0 minus 4, well, we can't do that, so we have to borrow. So 10 minus 4 is 6. Now 1 minus 8. So we look to the left, it's a 0, so we know we have to go to the next one over. So if we reduce 2 into 1, i.e. we borrow from that place, we would then make that 10, or 0 into a 10. Then we would borrow from that 10, which makes it a 9, and then that would become 11 to the right. Then 11 minus 8 is 3. 9 minus 9 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is 0 as well. And so we can say it's just 36. So now on to some worded problems. So a couple of key things here. We want to identify what we're actually looking for. And then ultimately, when we find the answer after simplifying and solving, we need to be able to use a worded answer to answer the question. And so the question asked, the high temperature on June the 2nd in Brisbane was 25 degrees and the low temperature was 16 degrees. What was the difference between the high and low temperatures? And so we're looking for the difference between. So difference means subtract, and we're looking between these two numbers, which are the temperatures that they're talking about. And so ultimately, because it says high and low, our high was 25 degrees and our low was 16 degrees. So that'll just be a subtraction there. So 5 minus 6, we need to borrow there. And so 15 minus 6 is going to be 9. And so therefore we can say that there was a 9-degree difference between the high and low temperatures in Brisbane on June the 2nd. So same kind of thing here. The high temperature on June the 1st in Los Angeles was 97 degrees and the low was 73 degrees. What was the difference between the high and low temperatures? And so in this one, we're looking for the difference again. The last one would have been in Celsius. This one would have been in Fahrenheit, and we should actually include our units, but I didn't, so don't copy me. So we're looking at the high temperature minus the low temperature. And so we've got 97 minus 73. And so 7 minus 3 is 4. 9 minus 7 is 2. And so there is a 24 degrees Fahrenheit difference between the high and low temperatures on June the 1st in Los Angeles. Olivia's 3rd grade class has 35 children. Last year, her 2nd grade class had 22 children. What is the difference between the number of children in Olivia's 3rd grade class and her 2nd grade class? So we're looking for the difference between, and we're looking between the 3rd and the 2nd. So the 3rd had 35 children, her 2nd had 22. So all we're doing here is when we're translating, we would say that we're looking for 35 minus 22. And now just calculating that, 5 minus 2 is 3, 3 minus 2 is 1. And so in our answer, we should say something to the effect of the difference between the number of children in Olivia's 3rd and 2nd grade classes was 13 children. There are 82 students in the school band and 46 in the school orchestra. What is the difference between the number of students in the band and the orchestra? So again, we're looking for the difference between. And so if you ever struggle with what you're actually looking for, I would identify what the numbers are that are relevant and then what you're actually trying to do. So difference between indicates we're looking for a subtraction, and we're looking for the difference between 82 students and 46 students. And so 2 minus 6, we can't do that, so we borrow there. 12 minus 6 is 6, and 7 minus 4 is 3. And so you should say something like, the difference between the number of students in the band and the orchestra is there are 36 more students in the band. Something like that. A mountain bike is on sale for $399. Its regular price is $650. What is the difference between the regular price and the sale price? And so here, again, we're looking at difference between. This is a very common thing. So you'll be calculating this in everyday life whenever you're at the shops. And so we're looking for the difference between the regular and the sale price. And so the regular comes first, which means we're subtracting from it. And the sale comes second, which means it's the thing that we're subtracting. And so we've got $650 minus $399. And so we would have to calculate that. So 10 minus 9 is 1. 4 minus 9, we can't do that, so that'll become 14. So 14 minus 9 is 5, and then 5 minus 3 is 2. And so ultimately, making sure we have our unit, so our dollar sign there is a $251 difference between the regular price and the sale price. A mattress set is on sale for $755. Its regular price is $1,600. What is the difference between the regular price and the sale price? So here, once again, difference between the regular and the sale. The regular is $1,600 and the sale is $755. And so what we're doing is we're subtracting $755 from $1,600. So here, it's actually a little bit weird looking. So we would have to borrow from this 6, remembering that that would then become 10. And then we're going to borrow from that, which would become 9. And finally, we'd end up with 10 on the right-hand digit. And so then we've got 10 minus 5, which is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. Here we would have a 5. So 5 minus 7, we can't do that. So we borrow. 15 minus 7 is 8. And that means we have an $845 difference, or even you could call it a discount, between the regular price and the sale price for the mattress set. John wants to buy a laptop that costs $840. He has $685 in his savings account. How much more does he need to save in order to buy the laptop? So, This one can look a little bit trickier, and so we're looking for how much more. So if we have two amounts, the larger amount is the goal in this case. So he wants to buy the laptop, and that costs $840. He only has $685. So to find how much more he needs, we need to find the difference between those two numbers and how much more would be the gap. And so 840 minus 685 would be how we set up that problem. We would then just do our normal procedure. So we'd borrow from there. 10 minus 5 would be 5. 3 minus 8, we would need to borrow again. 13 minus 8 is 5. And then 7 minus 6 is 1. And so how we would answer this is John would need $155 more saved to be able to buy his laptop, or the laptop he wants. Mason had $1,125 in his bank account. He spent $892. How much money does he have left? So a bit weird, this one as well. So if we're looking for an amount left, it's kind of the same process as before. So they've given us $1,125, but then he's gone and spent $892. So that means he's gotten rid of that $892. So if we want to find how much is left, we need to find the difference between those two numbers, and the remainder is what he actually has left after his purchases. And so we'd set this up as 1,125 minus 892. Make sure you set up your place values correctly. And so 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 minus 9, we can't do that. That becomes 0. That becomes 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. 0 minus 8, well, we can't do that, so we have to borrow there. And then we get 10 minus 8 is 2. And so we end up with $233. And so what that means is that Mason has $233 after he spent $892. Noah was driving from Sydney to Melbourne, a distance of 900 kilometres. He drove 250 kilometres, stopped for fuel, and then drove another 130 kilometres before lunch. How many more kilometres did he have to drive? And so this one seems a little bit tricky. So we've got a couple of numbers. So we've got 900 kilometres, 250 kilometres, and then 130 kilometres. And so because it says how many more kilometres did he have to drive, we would then look for a total and we would subtract what he's already done. And so it's similar to the money problems where we had the total amount in the bank account and we took away or found the difference between what he spent and what he had originally to find what he was left with. And so Noah, in this case, he's looking to drive from Sydney to Melbourne, which is 900 kilometres. We would then need to subtract 250 and 130. And so in that case, we can actually do this in one step. And so we haven't really worked on this before, but it's the same kind of process. And so ultimately we would just subtract these two numbers in order. And so we would end up with 0 minus 0 minus 0, 0 minus 5 minus 3. And so we would need to borrow from that 9. And so we're subtracting both of these numbers from the 900. And so we'd end up with 8 there, which would become 10. And then 10 minus 5 minus 3. And so we'd end up with 8. So we'd end up with 2, sorry. So we're subtracting 8. And then finally, 8 minus 2 is 6. Minus 1 is 5. And so we end up with 520 kilometers to go. And so if you were going to answer the question, you would say something to the effect of, after driving 250 kilometers and then another 130 kilometers, Noah still had 520 kilometers to go until he reached Melbourne. There's a couple of different ways of solving this problem as well. Some you might find more comfortable. And so if you wanted to, you could also just subtract one at a time. And so you could go 900 minus 250, 0 minus 0 is 0. That will become 10. And 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 2 is 6. And then from there, we could then set up another equation. And so you would get 130 there. And so this is just doing the same thing, but in a couple of different steps. And so 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 3 is 2. And 6 minus 1 is 5. And so that's another way we can do it also. Sarah needs 350 points to pass her course over 5 tests. She scored 75, 50, 70, and 80 on her first 4 tests. How many points does Sarah need on her 5th test to pass the course? So, this looks kind of complicated, but we have 5 numbers, and this is very similar to the last question, where we have a total. We need to subtract what she has spent. In this case, it's how much she scored on her first 4 tests, and then we'll find the remainder that Sarah needs to get on her last test. And so 350 was the total, and I'll show you the other way that we did second in the last one. I think that's probably more useful. And so we would have to line up our places correctly. And so you can just start off with this problem. And so 0 minus 5, can't do that. Get the 4 there, and that will become a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 7, also can't do that. 14 minus 7, is 7. 2, and we just bring that down. Then we subtract the next number, which is the 50, right? And it's good to maybe check these off as we go. And so 5 minus 0 is going to be 5. 7 minus 5 is going to be 2. And then 2 is just brought down. So then that's the 50 done. Now we have to subtract 70. So 5 minus 0 is 5. 2 minus 7, I need to borrow there. So 12 minus 7 is 5, and then bring that 1 down. And then 155 minus 80. And so 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 minus 8, we have to borrow from there. So then it's 15 minus 8 is 7. And so ultimately what we get is 75. So this means that on her 5th test, Sarah needs 75 points to pass the course. All right, there was a lot of questions there today. Hopefully you found them helpful. So just to reiterate, we went through a lot of 2, 3, 4-digit problems with and without borrowing. There's a couple of different things involved with some problems, like if you can't borrow from the left, you have to go to the next one over, and you have to make sure you're borrowing in order. And so that becomes a bit complicated there, but once you get the hang of it, you should be fine. Then we're looking at translating word problems and then simplifying. And so that's a really important skill to have in your arsenal. And then finally looking at some everyday applications or word problems that are actually going to be useful for you in your real life. All right, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Any feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments or message the channel. See you in the next one.